All right, welcome everybody. This is Taylor Hoyt. I'm here with a couple people you might be familiar with. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy 15 episode Duscae. So first, I have my friend Tyler here, who worked on Final Fantasy Type 0 HD at the Square Enix LA office. So Tyler, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Yeah, I hope everybody's enjoying Type 0.
I'm having fun. It's surprising. It's a good game. And then we also have Erren, aka Kagari, on NeoGAF. Contributes to RPG site and with her own site as well, Nova Crystallis. So, Erren, thanks for coming on and chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you guys all here. I think you guys are one of the two of the more prominent voices in the on the internet space. I think all our Twitter accounts are adorned with, Final Fantasy 15, either in avatars or backgrounds or headers in some way or another. So clearly we're all very excited about this game. So I just kind of wanted to open it up to general thoughts about the demo, since I'm sure we've all had some substantial time to play with it. So I'll start with you, Tyler. What are your just off the cuff initial impressions? What did you think of the demo?
Well, I might be a little biased, but I thought it was really, really cool. Obviously, we've been waiting a very long time for the game, so obviously expectations were really, really high for it to deliver, at least at the very basic level, something good. And so far I think it's really, really great. Actually, I was just playing just a few minutes ago, and I remember bumping up to the border, and I think the 15 team likes to have a lot of fun with the game, because when I got up to the border, it's all like, "Oh, you don't like bugs, do you?" And Prompto has said something that's like, "Oh, no, I don't." He's like, "Me neither. Yucky."
Yeah, there's
and
a lot
of like hinting that like there's bugs out there, and probably shouldn't try to glitch your way out there.
Which I'm sure people have already found if you've been on the official thread on GAF. People have broken the game already, but yeah, there's been a lot of cool, character interaction. I was actually really surprised at the variety. Like, I played for a good 10 hours, and people are posting videos of stuff that I still haven't seen. So that's pretty cool. So, Erren, how about you? What are your sort of just initial thoughts after playing it?
Well, I liked it. Like Tyler said, we've been waiting a long time for it. And as soon as, it's kind of a funny story, because I'd gotten a press copy since I did a review for Type 0, and so we had this code sitting around for about a week that we couldn't actually use. So I kept asking them, like, "Hey, when can I use this code? When can I use this code?" Because right before we headed into that last weekend before Type 0 came out, they sent like a last-minute embargo saying, "Hey, the demo is actually embargoed too." And I was like, "What? You're telling me that you're embargoing something that I can't even play?" But so then
we're just trying to torture all you all.
Monday morning rolls around, and I woke up at 8 in the morning for whatever reason. I don't even know why, but I checked the internet, and one of my other friends who works for the press was like, "Oh my god, you guys, the demo, like the code actually works." So I ran down to my PS4 and I checked it, and it worked. And apparently I made it in time, because there must have been like an accidental push through on that or something, because code stopped working not too long after that. So
Whoops.
Somebody pushed that button early, but I was pretty happy that I was able to get in time. And then from there, actually getting time to sit down and play with it, I definitely liked what I saw. Obviously, there's technical issues, but I think ultimately people shouldn't think of it as a demo. It's more of like super early access preview.
Yeah, actually, I was actually kind of surprised by that.
And
that put that disclaimer
as
at the
far
beginning.
as what you can do in the demo, there really isn't a lot outside of like the main quest, but I think the fact that they allowed you to kind of explore a little bit and test out the combat for yourself is more important at this point, because it is an action RPG, which is different for the mainline series. So getting that into the hands of people and letting them see for themselves was probably the bigger priority for them at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just yeah, for me it was like almost surreal to kind of like when it was loading and it's telling this whole story, like, oh, and they escaped the city and they were looking after Titan, but that's gonna have to wait because of the car broke down or whatever. And like that whole beginning scene when they're in the tent, I'm like, wow, this is real. I'm actually sitting here playing Final Fantasy 15 after almost 9 years, and it was just really weird, you know, because we've seen all these trailers, and you know, I'm sure you guys saw that that video I put together. I mean, those trailers were ingrained in my brain for like months straight, so it was just so weird to be able to play it.
Did you cry, Taylor?
You know, I was close. Like when the game first opens up, when you actually get control, I was like, is this real life?
I mean, I'll admit that, like, when I saw the title screen, I was like, oh my god, it's been 9 years. And that just kind of brought a profound sadness to me. Like, I've been waiting almost a third of my life for this.
Wow, yeah. When you put it like that, that is kind of a sad way to think about it.
Yeah, those the spoilers online were kind of rampant for a while there, and working at Square Enix, you know, it's hard to like avoid like 15 in the office, and like somebody who's been waiting a really long time, it was like, I gotta kind of turn away, just don't look at it, don't spoil yourself. And then,
well,
like,
on the subject of spoilers too, I was actually really disappointed that Square themselves had kind of spoiled almost every part of the demo before it came out. Like, as I started playing the demo, I was like, oh, you know, I've seen this, and what else is left? And I kind of, like, even though I was having fun with it, I still had kind of this feeling, like, what if I had been able to see this for myself for the first time just now, you know? I mean, some people said, well, you should have avoided it, but honestly, it's kind of hard when you have a website that's dedicated to that sort of thing. You either have to choose to not cover it and then look at all the other websites that are covering it, or just see the spoilers. And I chose to see the spoilers because that was apparently in the marketing plan. But I hope now that the demo's out, they kind of, you know, pull back a bit. I know it's kind of ironic to say this, but they were quiet for so long, and now they've kind of swung the entire opposite way. But I think there is such a thing as showing too much, and that definitely happened with the demo. Then, like,
Silicontra,
like right before the demo came out, it was in Jump Magazine, so they pretty much spoiled it. And then the Famitsu, their preview article for the demo, they actually spoiled the name of it in their article, so that was kind of disappointing.
And then Silicon Era just straight up like put it out on Twitter, and like everybody was yelling. You could have just said like, "Here's the summon. Click the article."
Here's the summon.
It's like, really, guys?
I felt so much disrespect for them when they did that. It's like, come on, guys, be more sensitive to people who want to avoid spoilers, because a lot of people follow them on Twitter, so, I mean, right away it's going to pop up on that feed and people are going to see that name, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that was definitely annoying, because I was one of the, like you said, the few secrets they had left, because at the PAX demo, they even showed, like, what the last outpost was, and I'm like, that would have been kind of cool to see. You don't really do anything there, but it still would have been kind of been like, oh yeah, cool chocobos. Like, I knew they were in the little tech demo they showed a while back, but it would have been nice to kind of just, like you said, have that be a surprise. But
Taylor, did you not see the couple?
Yeah, that was great. Where she like straight up slaps the guy. I kind of discovered that on my own. Like, I don't know what her name is, but her Twitter handle is like Square Enix Girl or something. And she was posting screenshots. I'm like, oh, I'm going to look for that. And so I just kind of sat around at the Chocobo farm. And that was like an event that you could sort of trigger. And yeah, it was pretty funny. She gets like straight up just knocked on his butt. So yeah, so I guess let's kind of go through, we'll go through certain segments. So, and then if you guys want to bring something up, we can bring it up. But so the first thing, I mean, combat, right? This whole demo was just the combat, and I think a lot of people were worried that it was going to be too simplified, and I have to say though, like, people were saying like, oh, I just want to button mash. I almost found myself leaning towards holding the button down in a way, because it is sort of like, it starts this combo going, and you don't want to. Tapping the buttons just seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed weird. Like, even though that's my natural instinct, I play a lot of action games, but it just didn't seem like that was the best thing to do. And then, you got the dodge and the warp strike and stuff. I know a lot of people had the two main problems I think a lot of people had were the lock on and MP drained a little fast. But I mean, what do you guys think about the combat? I'll start with Erren this time, and then Tyler, you can jump in.
As far as the combat goes, I think it's actually a lot more complicated than what people realize. You actually have to kind of use some strategy when you approach it rather than just mash a button, which you can actually I feel like you're actually punished more if you do that. So the fact that they added in a little more strategy, I think, is going to be very interesting. And you can see that in the demo, actually. As far as like the MP usage, I think it does drain maybe a little too fast. But again, that does tie back into using strategy, and you have to manage that MP in a more conscious way than I guess some people might be used to, and like with previous Final Fantasy games. And then with the lock-on, there is a way that you can, like, I guess, increase the lock-on, but I think the way that you have to do it is maybe a little, like, you have to do like an extra step, and I think maybe that's my problem with it. You should just hold a button, like in Type 0, you hold down, I believe it's R1 to lock on, and you stay locked on. But in 15, like as soon as the enemy moves off camera, you lose that lock on. So if they can adjust that to make it easier for people to lock on to the enemies, I think that would be good. The other thing with combat that I felt was kind of an issue was the camera. There was actually a lot of times where I'd be in combat and the camera would just like attach itself to a wall or something, and then I couldn't see what was going on. So maybe the other thing that they need to do is instead of pull back, maybe widen the field of view. That way people can see what's going on better.
Okay. Yeah, what did you think, Tyler?
So I'm going to give you guys an experience of like me and my friends. I mean, I played only like a few minutes of it before it actually released, and then of course, late at night, I got home, I downloaded it, and I had really bad internet, so it took like 3 hours to download. So I went to sleep, woke back up at 4 a.m. to play the demo before I went to work. Cause, got stuff. Anyways, so I played it and I really liked it. It was like Erren says. I think the NP management is a smart way to go about it, because I remember for months and months and months going to the NeoGAF forums and hearing people say that the combat was simplistic and that action RPGs don't really require strategy. And I'm like, guys, it's not going to be like that, and kind of like holding back, and just because you obviously you hear things when you work at Square, and it's like, but kind of waited patiently, and then I went back, read some of the pages on the official thread that Erren made, which is a wonderful thread. You guys should visit it. And it's started seeing some replies where people were saying that like they weren't managing their MP well, and they kind of blamed the game for that. And I was like, well, I mean, you're probably just warping all over the place, or just you're just holding down that dodge button. It really is about like not spamming the triangle. It's it's about deciding which moments to defend and deciding which moments are best to warp to those saber tusks, and it's more kind of like there's a flow to it, I should say. I don't know. I just there's something about the combat that it was really, really cool. I personally didn't have a lot of problems with the cameras. I did have a kind of an issue with the soft lock on, but when I learned about the hard lock on, that kind of alleviated a lot of my problems. So when I went to my friend's house, let him play the demo, and he basically said the exact same thing Erren said, was that not pull back the camera, but maybe field of view, because he's also a designer. So he's like, maybe maybe a wider field of view. He's like, the camera seems fine. He's like, it was the lock on that I was kind of having problems with the speedy enemies. And I asked him actually, because a lot of people were saying, remove the soft lock on and put it in for the hard lock on. My friend was saying, no, the soft lock on is fine because it lets him kind of adjust around. Because when you're on a soft lock on, you can move from enemy to enemy. But when you're on that hard lock on, you kind of stick to that enemy, and you only go after that one enemy. His experience, from his experience, he had a few things. Obviously, the game, the demo, does have it has some issues, obviously, I'm not gonna try to dodge that. But I think overall, what they were trying to do is give everybody a chance to kind of have a peek in to see what the systems were all about and what the combat was all about. Obviously, we still have a little ways to go, and the game will turn out a lot better than what's being currently presented in the demo.
There was actually a technical breakdown of the demo and as well, and some people were like, oh, it has all these, technical problems and it's going to be like that at release, but people need to realize that the game is still quite a ways out and they've got plenty of time to fix these issues.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like you guys were saying, this almost needed to get put out because the game we've been waiting for it so long, and maybe it wasn't fully optimized because they're trying to, finish the full game. But to kind of touch on combat again, I think there were a couple things, like you guys were saying, the camera. Once I figured out the hard lock on it wasn't as bad. The MP thing was a little interesting because it's weird I know you can hide behind cover or warp to a tower and just get MP back, but that seems weird to kind of just stop combat mid-flow. I feel like it should be more of a flow, or maybe dodging shouldn't drain MP, or not as much at least, because it is this fine balance between dodging, warping, attacking, helping your buddies or whatever. And the other thing I found is there were some enemies that were super annoying to fight, like the saber tusk guys. They were moving around so fast.
Yes.
I could unless I was warping to them, I almost could never hit him. I even specifically equipped the lance so I could lunge at him, and it was still missing. So I think they need to kind of tone that down.
In particular, especially when a whole mob would come at you, I would just kind of get frustrated out and be like, no, I don't want to fight you right now.
Exactly, yeah. Or even the goblins were sort of the same way, except in the cave they're they just clump you together.
Yes.
I think that arena, that should have been a bigger arena, because there's certain parts where you can't go anywhere, and you're in this tiny space, and there's a million of them.
Well, see, I think somebody said this to me, and I think I agree with it, but they kind of piled in a ton of goblins in there, I think because they didn't have any other enemies ready. So I think their thought process was, well, let's just throw in a bunch of goblins, and if you go in there and you're not prepared, you're actually going to get destroyed. So.
Oh, yeah. I got killed many times. Because not only are there a lot of them, but they poison you, too. And that drains your life really fast.
I actually didn't realize that at first either. So I went in there without the immunity buff. Oh, man. Don't do that.
I remember Tabata saying in an interview that these caves are supposed to kind of invoke old Final Fantasy, where it's supposed to feel dangerous and it's supposed to kind of feel scary about going in, or because I remember playing all the way back with Final Fantasy 1, where before you would walk into a dungeon, you'd use a tent and you'd be like, all right, hopefully I can get through this dungeon all the way to the bottom of the dungeon, then come back out relatively okay as long as I have 1 HP. That was kind of the thought process behind the design of that dungeon. That and the goblins themselves are pretty fast. So they tried to kind of, they wanted the cave itself to kind of, the dungeon itself to feel kind of claustrophobic, because they wanted you to feel kind of that pressure of, going into the cave and, just getting mobbed on. Not only that, like I said, the goblins are pretty fast, so if they were able to, run away, you'd have the same problem as the saber tusks, where, they just run away from you. So they try to pile it on so that way you can use abilities like Tempest to kind of hit a lot of them in a kind of a wide volley. And that dungeon also has one of the phantom swords, so if you didn't pick any of them up on your way there, you get one there, and that was your first chance of being able to use that also in the dungeon.
Very true, yeah. I will say that the troops were my personal favorite things to fight. They had interesting strategies. They weren't running all over the place. They were big enough to hit, and there were some really cool character interactions. I think You might have tweeted this earlier in the week, Tyler, when there's a part when like the robot's trying to like put his heart on you, and then like Ignis comes and kicks the guy away, and then you like elbow bump each other and stuff like that. Like that stuff's super cool to me, and I can't wait to see like how they kind of flesh that out into the full game. But to kind of go off what you were saying, Erren, I think you were kind of right probably about maybe there just weren't enough enemies, because I think there was a tech demo that they had where there was like a giant snake or something that was walking around in the same area, and that wasn't in Duscae, and there were those giant, like, I don't know what you want to call them, like brontosaurus looking things. Like you can't even go in the water, you can't fight them. The animant, the big tortoise thing that they had at the TGS trailer, like I think initially he said that was going to be in there, and then they took that out for probably trying just to get the demo out. There was one screenshot I saw of this one enemy. It looked like it was like a FF8 enemy, I think. It was like a horse with like big horns on it, and somebody posted a screenshot on Gaff, but I never saw it. And when I played through, did you guys either see this screenshot?
Yeah, I've seen it. He's typically running around the east side of the map, by the lake is where I've seen it. I've never fought it. I don't know if you can fight it, because it usually tries to run away from you, but it's definitely there. I've only seen the one though. There's not like multiple ones that run around.
Actually, so they're by the lake, but they're on the west side, and there's a big group of them actually. If you go up to the, I'm actually looking at the map right now, to the north western part of the map. There is actually a group of them you can fight, and they do run away, but they're kind of hard to fight because sometimes they like jerk back around and come back and hit you for a lot of damage. But when you get their horns, you can actually sell them for like 2,000 gil. So they're supposed to be kind of like a rare creature in the world to be able to, acquire money faster in case you don't want to fight the behemoth. Which, why wouldn't you want to fight the behemoth?
I know, it's so much fun. So this might be a little controversial. There was a little thing that was happening over the weekend about Cindy, and how a lot of people were like, oh, she's over-sexualized, and there was like this whole thing where there was a group of people on Twitter that wanted her to get redesigned with like a full jacket and get zipped up, and they're tweeting all these pictures of female characters showing their belly buttons or whatever. So this will be interesting. We've got a female and a male's perspective. So what do you guys... Is this like offensive? Is it just like, oh, this is an interesting character design? Who cares? Like, what do you guys think about Cindy and this whole thing? Because I've seen people on my feed, and I'm sure you've seen it too, that got really riled up about her.
Well, I'll be honest. Like, I think her as a character is fine. I had no problems with her character, but when the camera started panning in on, those specific suggestive locations on her body, I felt kind of uncomfortable. Like, they were definitely pandering toward a specific audience, and I'm not that audience. So, I don't know, it's just something I don't really want to see. And the fact that it was pretty blatant was not my first choice, but I don't know. Like, I really don't know where they're going with that character. So, from a personal perspective, I feel like maybe the camera work was a little too much, but her character itself seems fine.
Okay. Tyler, any thoughts?
Kind of putting me on the spot here.
You can pass if you want. You can plead the fifth if you don't feel comfortable.
No, I think it's like Erren said. I'm not going to say anything about the design. I think the design itself is fine. If people want to take pictures of, them kind of like putting Noctis up next to her, I've seen a few pictures of that, and I was like, whatever, that's their prerogative. That's how they're going to play the game. That's not my choice. That's not how I play. But I thought the character itself was actually kind of strong, because every time, I'm sure Erren noticed too, but every time the guys were like hitting on her, she'd basically like very subtly like reject them at every point. Like promptly.
Yeah, she did brush him off, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, even like Noctis was like laughing at it every time they were trying to hit on her, because he knew that she wasn't going to take any of that, because, Prompto was like, oh, can I call you? And she's like, oh yeah, sure, Papa will love to talk to you.
I didn't catch that, actually. I knew a couple of people were kind of made mention of that. But yeah, for me personally, I kind of think of it as the way, you know, people were reacting to Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, I'm just going to wait for the full game. I mean, Kojima even said for Metal Gear that, like, oh, you're going to be embarrassed with the reactions you've had. There's like a deeper meaning to this. Not that there's a deeper meaning to how she's dressing or whatever, but you never know. Maybe there's something about her character. I mean, she does have like a southern accent, so maybe like that part of the game, the town, I don't know. So I guess I'll just wait for the full game on that one.
Actually, that's one of the things I thought that Hosmir was doing really well. He was talking about culture in Final Fantasy 15, and I really liked the consistency with all the NPCs in the Duscae region, where they all had southern accents. It wasn't just Cindy. It was everybody in that region had a southern accent, including Wiz, because that's where they're all from and that's how they all talk. So I remember a lot of people saying that, like, they don't understand why she speaks, like, has that southern drawl to her, and it's like, well, that's because everybody in the Duscae region seems like they talk like that. So it's more of like a cultural thing. I'm sure if you ever go into Lucius, they'll talk very differently from how people talk in Duscae.
For sure, yeah. I think that is kind of cool how they're doing that. Like even the Jump Festa trailer, there was some interesting stuff in there. It sort of like looked like a tropical town. So I kind of want to move into spoiler territory a little bit. So if you're watching this video or listening to it or whatever, we're gonna go into some spoilers. I'll put like some kind of time stamp or something when we're done with that. But let's talk about a couple people that broke the game and they found Titan under the astral shard. Have you guys seen that video or any of those pictures?
Yeah, actually, like, I was kind of waiting for somebody to kind of break that barrier, because when you go up to it in the game, it's like this big blue line that kind of divides the map, and it says, look forward to the rest of it in Final Fantasy 15 or whatever it says. And you can still see beyond this line that there is stuff actually out there. And so, like I said, I was waiting for somebody to sort of break the game and glitch through it. And, somebody managed to do it quite quickly. And what we saw is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, well, they even hint at it at the very beginning, like when they're talking and like you hear a rump, like an earthquake, and then Gladiolus is like, "Well, Titan will have to wait." So clearly, like, it's not like they're hiding that Titan's in the game. He was even in a trailer. So I'm curious to see what the story implications are for that. But did you see that, Tyler? Do you have any thoughts on Titan?
I did see that. It's kind of, yeah.
I can imagine it maybe didn't go over so well there.
Just no comment on that. I'm just saying, this is personal opinion time. My opinions don't reflect my employers, but I was just kind of surprised that people found it surprising that surprise, surprise, if they glitch out of the map, that they start falling through the world, and it's like, yeah, you're kind of not supposed to be somewhere.
Yeah, there was another picture that somebody had. Maybe it was beyond the border, but it was like the next town over, and you could see some lights in the distance. Like, it was very blurry, but there was something cool about that. So it's interesting how people managed to break the game. I'm wondering if they I don't know how they did it, but I'm wondering if they just found a way to do a jump puzzle or...
Well, basically from what I understand, is they wait for a car to come, and they jump in front of the moving car, and the car pushes them across the barrier. And I almost think that Square was anticipating people would do this, because if you go too far out of bounds outside of the map zone, the game basically forces you into a game over. So I think they sort of anticipated that people would do this.
Interesting, huh?
What usually happens with most games is if you kind of go outside the barrier, it'll usually just kill you. So, like, if there's any game you kind of glitch out of, like if you were to glitch out in like Advanced Warfare, or if you were to glitch out in like any of the Assassin's Creed games, you'll notice that you'll fall through and you'll fall into like water, basically. And it's the developer's way of going, you glitched out, our bad. We're going to send you back to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's,
otherwise you'd just be trapped forever and ever, and you'd never be able to escape.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, that they would kill you, because, yeah, like you said, like, what if you just keep falling through the world? Like, one one thing that it reminds me of is that the PlayStation experience when Naughty Dog was showing off Uncharted 4 and he just fell through the world. Like, what if you don't have a kill, trigger or something like that? He'll just keep falling forever. That would have been really embarrassing.
That actually did happen to me back when I was invited to play the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn alpha test with Square in 2013. They let me go into this unfinished area, and I glitched into the water, and I couldn't reset or anything. So they actually had to come over and reset it. It was pretty hilarious.
Glitches are always fun.
But yeah, I do want to stress that all technical issues will be fixed in the final game. Just like with 14, just like with kind of any game that's in development, there's always problems that happen. Obviously, the quality assurance department gets hired to find these issues and squash them before they get to the public. And I think relatively our company does a pretty good job at ironing out all technical issues before.
I think the technical issues that are in the demo are things that are fixed toward the end of the development cycle anyway. So
Right.
Things like frame rate and making sure that the resolution is topped off, and making sure that the textures look good and all this and that. That really happens after everything is completed, and it's obvious that the game isn't at that point yet. So the fact that they put out something that doesn't have those things isn't really surprising, but at the same time, I am kind of surprised that they were willing to put out something so early.
So basically, everybody, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. Okay, it's okay to go to sleep. It's okay. It's not going to come out like this.
Yeah, I mean, like Erren was saying earlier, I think the game's probably at least a year away. Hopefully we get it. If we get it sooner, great. If not, but yeah, I think like you were saying, Tyler. Like I don't know, like say what you want about the story quality and the design quality, but I've never had like a technical problem with any Final Fantasy game. Like even like Lightning Returns, like I didn't have crazy frame rate issues or glitches or anything like that. Even like Realm Reborn.
What I could tell you about that game, maybe a different podcast, but.
Well, that was the last mainline Final Fantasy I actually finished, because I didn't play 13 or 13-2 because I was in South Korea when those games were out, and I just didn't. That was like, oh, that's like the devil, and I don't want to I'm going to go play like PS1 JRPGs. Forget that.
So you didn't play 13 or 13-2, but you played Lightning Returns?
I did, yeah. I know that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But
So confused.
well, I played the demo, and it was really fun. I liked the combat. I'm like, okay, I like what this is doing. Like, they were talking about these more open areas. So what I was looking for in a Final Fantasy game, it seemed like that was going to offer that, but it still kind of disappointed me. But like you said, that's another discussion for another time. But there's one thing that I really wanted to talk about with both of you guys. The ending video, the little tease with the Japanese audio. And I know this is a very contentious thing for you, Erren. So they show this giant, I don't know what you want to call it, like a giant picture of all these, what we assume to be the summons. Because if you really like take a second and look at everything, like you can see Ifrit and Shiva on the side, maybe Knights of the Round up at the top, and all these different things. But
one of the theories actually on the sort of kingly looking characters at the top was that they actually represented the dynasty of Lucius, and I think that actually makes more sense because they're at the top there, and then you have the characters in the middle that sort of represent Noctis and his friends. So I think that's actually what that is. And then in the middle and then for the bottom, you then have like Ramu, Shiva, I think Leviathan's there, an octopus that some people think is Ultros, Bahamut, Siren's in there, so.
You got 7 swords, maybe that might mean something, I don't know.
Not saying much, but
yeah. When I first saw that picture, I was like, "Wow, this is really different than what we've seen so far in the game." So,
but it did give me a lot of kind of like that old versus vibe that whole last video, kind of hinting back to like, yeah, this like it was them kind of saying, okay, you play the demo and you can see that we do have lighthearted moments in the game, and it's going to be paced that way. You're going to have lighthearted moments, but with this video, we're telling you that the story will still be dark.
Oh yeah, I mean, like it ends with this giant like view of a like destroyed city, and they're saying all these people are dead, which clearly that sounds like a cover up from what we can tell. Like even in one of the trailers prior, they're like, oh yeah, Luna made it out alive, and obviously Noctis is alive because you play him through the whole game. But this has been, like I said, this has been a very contentious thing on the official thread. This has been one of the bigger discussions. They said Noctis and King Regis were found dead, as well as Luna Freya, Flux, Flunaret, or whatever. I don't know her name. I don't know her last name. And so a lot of people are like, okay, here we go. Is this them telling us that the name Stella was dropped? Is Stella like an alter ego? So what? I mean, Erren, your avatar is of the old Stella design. So clearly you have a lot of, you're invested in this kid.
I'm not changing it either. I decided I'm not changing it.
Well, we don't even know what the story is with the full game because they're being very secretive. Like whenever people ask about it, they're like, "Oh, yeah, wait."
Every time somebody is asked about her, the answer is always like super ambiguous or like shrugged off, or I don't know. And it's actually really bothered me that there really hasn't been a clear answer, because she was in the marketing for Versus 13 pretty prominently from 2008 even through 2013 when they renamed the game. So like I don't understand what's the purpose in trying to hide it, I guess.
I'm just gonna smirk.
My guess is that she has some kind of like, I'm wondering if this is almost like a Garnet situation in Final Fantasy IX, where they're just...
See, that would make sense, but then why would the middle and last name be the same? Like, yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
Because Luna looks like... I mean, people were like, oh, they look identical. I mean, like, there is, like, a difference. Like, if you were to put them side by side, there's, like, slight differences, so maybe it's, like, a sister thing. I don't know. But it's interesting that they keep bringing that up and not explaining it, so there's something to that. I think if they changed her or renamed her, they would have just said it, because otherwise, like, why all this secrecy? That just seems bizarre.
Well, I guess on the flip side of that, you could also say if they did change it, they're not telling people because people would be upset, and obviously they don't want people to be negative about the game right now. So
I mean, the story and the lore and the kind of grander world is still very much inspired by Nojima, and or it still very much adheres to the Nomura Nojima story that they wrote. They're really not changing that. I think what it really comes down to is like if Luna is a different character, then that's fine, because then Stella's in the game. If Luna is not a different character and it is Stella, it's simply just a name change, which also kind of makes me kind of go, okay. I mean, I know Erren's very passionate about her name being Stella and the old Stella's design, but like if it's really just a name change, it's like her character is not changing. It's just the name is changing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, I guess in due time we'll tell. But it is interesting that they brought her name up. This is the second time that they've brought her up, so there must have been, because if I remember right, the initial, if we put all the trailers together, there is supposed to be this peace treaty signing in Insomnia, and they're both there, but there seems to be some sort of contention because in one of the CG trailers they're like fighting each other, so maybe it's this sort of like Romeo Juliet thing where they care about each other. I mean, even in the not TGS E3 trailer from 2013, it shows them when they were little, so they even grew up together, possibly. So there's something to that character. She's clearly important in some way. So
yeah, in old monarchies, like back in the English days of like Henry VIII and such, a prince and a princess would usually be betrothed to each other at a very young age and be told like, yeah, this is who you're gonna marry someday, so might as well suck it up now. Yeah, so I mean that it could be kind of that thing where like in order for there to be peace, like when Noctis was like 5 or something, he met up with Luna or Stella or whoever, and was told, hey, this is the person you're going to be, married to, or you're betrothed to, so that way we can have kind of like a peace between Tenebrae and Lucius.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because this is also, speaking of like drawing from like kind of monarchical type of lore or whatnot, but this also has a lot of ties to Hamlet. I know game trailers did a really cool like kind of piece on that where they're kind of picking apart and tying it to different themes in Hamlet. And there's even that whole, it's really funny to see the thread. Like, people are absolutely convinced that one of the 4 characters is like a spy or like gonna betray them in the game, and everybody's trying to like figure out who it is. So there's a lot of people think that there's some wolf in sheep's clothing, or somebody's gonna backstab him at some point.
Yeah, and if that happens, I'm gonna be so like sad, because I really like all the characters.
I mean, there already is that kind of element in there with the peace signing, so we already know that that's one of the sort of traitorous elements that's in the story. Even though, I mean, I guess you could almost kind of assume that was going to happen anyway, based on what we've seen so far. But I mean, I think there's maybe more to that than what we've seen.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I think so too. So I guess let's just we'll kind of close this out. We'll give some final thoughts. So E3 is only about 3 months away.
Oh man, is it really? Oh, damn.
Yeah, 3 months.
It's now just over the 3-month mark.
Oh god.
So do we? I mean, I was surmising that we might have seen, like, once the end credits roll in the demo, that they would have just popped up the release date. But I was kind of browsing through GAF the day the demo came out, and there was no thread title about it. So I'm like, okay, somebody would have made a thread about it if that was the case.
Yeah,
so that didn't happen.
I honestly expected maybe like just a flat release year or something, but no, there's not even like real credits in the demo.
No, definitely not. So at E3, I mean, they can't skip it again. They had the demo, like, they have good momentum for it, I think. I mean, what are we expecting from E3? Like a big demo, a release window?
I think that they'll have a new trailer, like a new story trailer, that'll be shown prominently. The other thing I think that they'll say is the release year, which I definitely believe at this point is 2016. And I think that'll be like the big showing for it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's going to be 2016 at this point as well. I mean, other games have kind of just shown up and have been able to release the same year. Like, a couple of games that come to mind are pretty much every Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty. Even like, I remember Resident Evil 6, that game just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, yep, here's this big trailer, comes out in October, we'll see you then. It's just like, what? Like, nobody even knew about this.
Yeah, I mean, some companies have gotten to that point where they announce a game and then 6 months later they release it. But obviously, Versus was announced in 2006, yeah. So it's been well more than 6 months. But I think that they will hopefully at least give us that release year at E3. I think realistically that's something that people can expect, and if I'm wrong, then I'll actually be pretty surprised. So. Yeah,
I mean, I would be shocked if we don't get. I expect them to have a live demo at Sony's press conference, like you said, with some kind of release information, whether it be, like you said, a year or a specific date or whatever. Because I think there are, I know, Tyler, we talked about this before, you don't like me using this, but those Uncharted set pieces that they showed at the E3 2013 demo, like when he's diving through the window and there's water
Totally Uncharted.
Yeah, that's dispute me and Taylor's been doing it for a while now, so it's like, well, I mean, sure, you can call it Uncharted.
I mean, to be honest, even in the demo, the parts where you're like doing the stealth thing and sneaking through the cave, like when you have to like squeeze through the wall, I was like, oh man, that's totally Uncharted.
And that's not a bad thing, but I remember somebody he called them Uncharted moments, and I'm like, well, there's still kind of Final Fantasy moments, because I mean, a lot of people forget that Final Fantasy VII, there was the bombing mission, and that had like kind of CG in the background. Same thing with Final Fantasy VIII, where you'd have you were fighting in the Battle of the Gardens, where like Squall was like hanging off of like a bike with another soldier, and you were like punching him while like the CG was playing in the background. So like, Final Fantasy's always had those set piece moments, but I mean, yeah, we can call them Uncharted moments if you want.
Well, set piece moments, I guess. We'll do it that way. Just kind of cover all, but yeah, like that the battle. I'm assuming that's Insomnia when all the troops are kind of invading, and he's swinging through the rafters and stuff's blowing up, and Leviathan's just destroying everything. So I think there's. To go back real quick, I don't mean to backtrack, but that moment when you do fight Behemoth, where there's that whole setup where like, okay, you warp over here, and Prompto's going to shoot the thing, and Gladiolus is going to hit him where he can't see. I really like that. I hope they do more stuff like that in the full game, as opposed to just like, go here, do a thing, go here, do a thing. It's very different from at least the 13 games, so it has these kind of interesting mechanic moments. So I hope they do show more of that. I think that's... to go back to E3, I think that's what that will be. Something like that, whether it is like what that 2013 E3 demo is now or something else completely. Yeah, and I think they kind of have to do that. There's no way they can skip E3 again without some solid info, because people are just getting tired at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I think there will be a big trailer, hopefully with that release year, and then they can... Then go from there at Tokyo Game Show, kind of go a little bit bigger with them being in their home territory. So
you guys are really good at the speculation thing. I'm going to choose to pass on this one.
I was just going to say, like, I'm pretty sure you know things that you can't say, so if you decline to comment, I totally understand.
I am going to plead the fifth right now.
That's fair enough.
I mean, to be honest, just based on, like... what's been said in public and what we can speculate, there's going to be a lot of things for Square at E3 this year. So, I mean, even if they don't have a ton of 15 stuff, I think they're going to have plenty of other things. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's Tomb Raider, there's Heaven's Word, or it might come out before E3, I forget.
Oh, it comes out after, but that will definitely be there. They have like their other Western stuff like Just Cause.
Oh, that's right, Just Cause, yeah.
I have a feeling that they're probably going to reveal like maybe Deus Ex pretty soon, because it's been a while.
Yeah, they're due.
And then, they've said that they said Kingdom Hearts was supposed to be shown sometime this year, and
that's right.
Actually they've already announced there's a event in December in Japan, so it's definitely likely that we'll see that there. So.
Wow, that's interesting that they're planning that far out. I do remember for Kingdom Hearts they put out that HD 2.5 video, and they had like Nomura and Shimomura came out, and then they showed this like mystery video, and then it said expect more in 2015. So I'm really curious to know what that video was, and then what they're going to show. I think
from what I understand, even though this is going extremely off topic, it was like a concept video. They showed like some really early footage and then like some stills with like concept art, but it was meant specifically for people who attended that event, and I don't believe they're going to release it outside of that.
That makes sense. I mean, that's like for those really hardcore fans, and that's special. That's kind of a cool thing they did. But yeah, so I'll just close this out here. So yes, 15. I think we're all very excited. Yeah, there's technical issues, but it's a demo, and the game's still a ways out. I think those will get ironed out as time goes on. I'm really curious to see when they put out the feedback poll, because they've been very vocal about like, okay, make sure you keep your codes, because we're going to put a thing out where you can give us your feedback.
Yeah, I am glad that they are going to tie it to codes. That way they don't get a bunch of like nonsense feedback from just people trolling or people who don't know what they're talking about or anything. So.
And I kind of appreciate that they are being so serious about this feedback thing, because I think they finally have realized, like, man, we really messed up with those 13 games. We got to kind of correct ourselves. And I think it was a good start with A Realm Reborn, and Type 0 is good. I think a lot of people are having fun with that. And I think this will be just another one of those games where, like, I never played a Final Fantasy before, but I'm going to pick up 15 because it looks cool. So, I guess we'll just end it here, guys. Yeah, thank you, Erren and Tyler, for coming on and having a chat. Like I said, I think you guys are two of the more knowledge and prominent voices out there on GAF and the Twitter sphere. So appreciate you guys coming on. Is there any final thoughts you kind of wanted to end with here?
Well, I think that even though we've mainly talked about the 15 demo and all that, I think that people should not ignore Final Fantasy Type 0, even though it is definitely an HD remaster, but it's still a very good game. And if you are ignoring it, then you are doing yourself a disservice. So please check out that game. And I'm not saying that just because I love Final Fantasy, but it is a legitimately good game.
Please play the game. It is fun. I was the same way. Like at first, I was like, oh, the camera is like giving me a headache. But then I gave it some more time, and I'm like, wow, this is actually really fun. I'm like getting into the story, and the characters are really cool. So yes, definitely make sure you play the game too.
Oh, thanks, guys. Almost the same thing. I hope that everybody out there gives both Final Fantasy Type 0, Final Fantasy 15, and 14, and all of our other Final Fantasy products a chance. I know sometimes at first they might not come across as your type of thing, but give it a few minutes, try it out, and see what it's like. I know a lot of people bought Final Fantasy Type 0 HD for the demo, and that's fine. That's okay. I know a lot of people are excited for 15, but it does come together with again, I'm biased, but it does come with a really good game, and I think it's a game that I think actually a lot of old school fans will like, even though it is a real-time action game. It does have a lot of kind of PS1 era type of things, like the world map. The world map is very reminiscent of kind of Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX's kind of overworld. The story refocuses back onto the crystals and how important those are. I think the characters are pretty cool. I know, the characters. I really like the characters. I know people have gripes with Machina or whatever, but whatever. Machina's cool too because he wields dual swords. I hope everybody enjoyed the demo. I hope when you guys do give the 15 developers feedback that you can help us with the positives too. We'd like to know what we did right, so that way, because obviously if everybody's just telling us what we did wrong, we're not sure what we did right. So if you tell us what we did right, then we can not touch the thing that you really, really like. Like for me personally, I really like the general art aesthetic, and I really like the battle system and the MP management, and I do like the English voice cast. I know Erren has opinions on the English voice cast.
I actually played entirely in Japanese, so there you go.
All right, but I like the cast. I know people kind of are back and forth on that, but that's the feedback that we're kind of looking forward to. What we need to fix and what we need to keep in, so that way we can deliver the best. I know it sounds cliche, but deliver the best Final Fantasy ever, because that's usually the goal when we make Final Fantasy games is make the best one ever.
Cool. Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. For those of you that have played the demo, definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure this will get posted on Nova C or on my YouTube or wherever. So. So hit us up on Twitter too if you feel like extending the conversation. You can find me at Taylor's Shelf. You can find Rob at Shyco Ninja. It's PSHYCK or CO, excuse me. And then Erren, is it just Erren Van? Is it just your name?
Yeah, it's Erren Van Duine. That's ERRENVANDUINE.
Perfect. Well, we're almost going on an hour here, guys, but thank you so much for listening to this conversation. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed episode Duscae in the game. So please be excited for the future, and we'll talk to you later, guys.